The same bug costs you seconds, minutes, or a customer. You get to choose which. And almost everyone coding with AI keeps choosing the expensive one without even knowing they made a choice. Here's the math nobody runs. A broken change you catch on your own machine the second you write it costs you seconds. The exact same change caught later in CI, minutes. A full cycle and a context switch. You keep watching a red checkmark spin, and that same change again slipped all the way to production. Now a paying customer finds it for you, and it costs you their trust. Same bug, 3 wildly different price tags, and the only variable is how far left you caught it. Stick around, because I'm going to show you the exact verification harness that I run that fails me in seconds on my own laptop. The pre-commit hook, the one validate command, the verify pass, and by the end, you'll be able to wire a rough version into your own project tonight. Hi, I'm Alex Brockway. A year ago, I couldn't write a single line of code. Today, real companies run on software that I built. And on this channel, I show you exactly how it's done. So let me give you the one idea this whole harness hangs on. Because once it clicks, you'll never set a project up the lazy way again. It's called pushing the checks left. Picture your work as a line that runs left to right. You write the code on the far left, it gets pushed, it goes through CI in the middle, and it lands in production on the far right, in front of real people. Every step you move right, a mistake gets more expensive and harder to undo. So the entire game is to drag every check you possibly can as far left as it'll go. Back to the moment the code is born, on your machine where a problem is cheap and nobody is watching. CI isn't your first line of defense. CI is the backstop, the net under the net. Your machine is where the real catching happens. Most people have that exactly backwards. And here's the shape of it. Layered checks, fastest first, the cheapest, fastest checks run constantly on every single commit. The heavier ones run less often, right before the code crosses an expensive boundary, like a push or a pull request. You don't run everything all the time. That's how you make verifying so slow and annoying that you quietly stop doing it. Fast checks constantly, slow checks at the gates. Let me walk you up that ladder rung by rung. Let me walk you up that ladder rung by rung, because each one catches a different class of disaster. Bottom rung runs the most, a pre-commit hook. The second before a commit is allowed to happen, this fires and runs your instant checks, formatting, lint, the cheap ones. And here's the trick that makes it survive. It only looks at the staged files you actually changed, not your whole code base. That's the difference between a check that takes a fraction of a second and one that takes 30. And that difference is everything, because the single most important rule about hooks, a slow hook is a dead hook. A pre-commit check that makes you wait 30 seconds every time gets disabled by the second day. Guaranteed. People rip out anything that slows them down even a little. You will too, and you won't even feel guilty about it. So you make it near instant by only checking what changed, and that's what keeps it alive months from now. Speed isn't a nice to have here. Speed is the whole reason it still exists next week. Now, the smartest move on that bottom rung, targeted guards. The mistake that really hurt you are specific, sneaky, and project specific, and a generic lint rule will never see them coming. So you build a specific guard for the specific trap. Let me give you the one from my own setup, because it's the perfect example. I have a guard in my hook that flat out refuses to let me modify a database migration that's already been pushed to a shared environment. Why? Because if you edit a migration that's already run, nothing looks wrong. It passes locally, the build's green, and yet you silently desync your repo from the live database. Your code believes one reality and the database lives in another. And you find out at 2 in the morning when something breaks in a way that makes no sense. So the hook just stops me at the door. And every guard like that is born from exactly one bad night you swore you'd never repeat. The mistake bites you once, and instead of feeling stupid, you turn it into a check that physically cannot let it happen again. That's how the harness gets smart, one scar at a time. Upper rung, a pre-push hook for the slightly heavier checks, right before the code leaves your machine. And then the centerpiece, one command called validate. This is your full local gate, lint, type check, an architecture drift check, and a full production build. All of it, one word. You run it before any pull request. And here's why it's one command on purpose. If verifying your work takes 5 different commands, nobody can remember. Nobody runs all 5. They run 2 and tell themselves it's probably fine. So you collapse the entire local gate into a single word, validate. So there's no excuse, no friction, nothing to forget. And the kicker, those are the exact same checks GitHub Actions runs as your backstop. So if validate is green on your laptop, CI is not going to surprise you. You already know the answer before you push. The red checkmark stops being a gut punch and becomes a formality. But now I have to stop you because this is the most dangerous trap in the entire field, and almost everyone walks into it. Everything I just described, the lint, the type checks, the build, all of it confirms exactly one fact. The code is syntactically fine. It compiled and it built is the single most dangerous green check there is. I'll say it as plainly as I can. A clean build tells you nothing about whether your code actually works. It tells you that grammar is correct. It tells you absolutely nothing about whether the sentence is true. You can have a perfect build, every check green, every type happy, and a feature that's flat out broken or doing nothing at all. Static success? It's not working. It compiled is not it works. Those are 2 completely different claims. And if you stop at the first one, you'll ship confident, compelling, wrong code straight to your customers and feel great for doing it. You need the top rung, the one that separates a real harness from a pile of checks. It's a verify pass. I run it as a skill, and it's the judgment step. It does not ask, did this compile? It asks, did this actually do what it's supposed to do? And the way it knows what it was supposed to do is the plan. You verify against the plan, not against it runs. If it's UI work, it opens a real browser with Playwright, the same free open source tool real engineering teams use to drive a browser from code, and actually looks at the live screen the way a real customer would, instead of trusting the code that it's supposed to produce it. It auto fixes the trivial gaps. It surfaces the substantive ones it shouldn't touch on its own and commits the phase. And you run it after every single phase, not at the very end when everything's tangled together and you can't tell which chain broke what. One sharp warning on that auto fix, because it cuts both ways. An auto fixer that silently cleans up after itself can also silently paper over a real problem. So you draw a hard line. Let it fix the trivial formatting, the cosmetic gaps, but anything that touches actual logic, it surfaces and you look at it. You never let a machine quietly rewrite your logic and call it fixed. That's not verification. That's a cover up with good intentions. And that's the wiring underneath the word done. No phase is done until validate is green and verify passes against the plan. Done doesn't mean it generated some code. Done means it proved the work against what it was actually supposed to do. And the harness gets stronger over time because every escape becomes a new check. Something slipped past you into CI or reached production, don't just fix it and move on. Add the local check that would have caught it. Every miss makes the net tighter. The harness you have in 6 months is built out of every mistake that ever got past you. And every one of those can only ever happen one time. So here are the gotchas straight, because they're the difference between a harness that protects you and a pile of checks that quietly rots. A slow hook is a dead hook. Staged files only. Catching it in CI is catching it too late. It built is the most dangerous green check there is. Without the verify step, a clean build just means you are confidently wrong. The silent drift traps each need their own guard. And don't let autofix quietly paper over a real problem. And here's the part that should make you smile. This costs you basically nothing to run. Playwright is free and open source. GitHub Actions is your backstop. And the AI directing the whole harness, building your hooks, running validate, doing the verify pass, it's Claude code, built right into the Claude desktop app you already pay for. No separate tool to install. You're not bolting on some $40 a month testing service or paying tool middlemen at API rates. It's your subscription doing the work, the cheapest path there is. The most expensive part of this whole setup is the half hour it takes to wire it up. So that's the harness. Push every check as far left as it goes. Fastest first, a pre-commit hook that's instant or it dies. Targeted guards for the traps that bit you. One validate command that matches CI and a verify pass that proves the change against the plan in a real browser before it ever earns the word done. And you've got enough right now to go look at your own setup tonight. Check what actually runs before you push. And if the answer is basically nothing, I just hope CI catches it. You just found the most valuable afternoon of work you'll do all month. So here's exactly where to go next. And I mean it. Come hang out with us. I run a school community at school.com and it is loaded. Nearly 10 hours of free training, including foundations. The free course that takes you from never having written a line of code to actually building real projects step by step. A free library of starter templates and prompts and a brand new video every single week. All of it completely free. Come join us at school.com. The link, it's in the description. And let me tell you exactly what Premium is, because hardly anyone knows. Premium is the inner membership of that same community. It's where the done-for-you build packs live, including the exact verification harness from this video. You don't wire the hooks, the validate command, and the verify pass by hand. You bug at it, one bug at a time. You download the pack, point your AI at the start file, and it builds the whole harness into your own project. It checks what hooks you already have and what's missing, asks your stack, and walks you through it until problems are dying on your machine instead of in front of customers. That pack plus 15 more, every one, a real piece of the production stack that I run every day. It's another 10 hours of deeper courses. It's the full resource repository, templates, prompts, MCPs, and skills. And it's weekly access to me directly to get your own build unstuck. What's free teaches you the pattern. Premium hands you the working machine and puts you in the room with me. And you do not have to start there. Everything you need to begin is free. Grab the build kit and the free course, then find us in the school community. So that's the pre-PR verification harness. The difference between finding out your code is broken in seconds on your own machine where it's cheap and finding out 3 days later from a customer where it costs you everything. Stop letting CI do the catching your laptop should be doing. Make problems die where they're born and hit subscribe. I put out a new video like this every week. Every one a real piece of how I actually build. I'll see you on the next one.